What's better than one sport? Two sports. What's better than two sports? Three sports. That's right. The trifecta is in full swing. The Phillies are starting. The season has already started, 11 games in. We're going to talk about them. Sixers are coming down the home stretch, as well as the Flyers, and we'll talk about them as well. A lot to talk about today. Trifecta, as I said. Welcome to Sports Talk Philadelphia. Once again, I am John Kuhlmeier, and welcome to Sports Talk Philadelphia. I'm joined by my friend coming back from recovery. Welcome, Caleb Flieger. I don't even know what to say.
Nice to see you, John. A few weeks off, but
yeah,
we're
went through something terrible. I don't know if we can talk about it here. That sickness that we know about. And Shane Nolan joining us remotely. Welcome, Shane. We're going to be talking Phillies in a little bit, but we will start with the Sixers. As I alluded to, 18 games left in the season. The Sixers are 37-17. Caleb, they take on the Nets tonight. Big game. Battle for sole possession of first place, as you can see right there. It's going to have some pretty major playoff implications, I would say. No Durant, no Harden. So tell me about the Sixers. Tell me about this latest road trip that they went on, and what do you make of it?
Yeah, the Sixers have been looking pretty decent lately. I mean, they had that loss against the Pelicans a few nights ago that they just didn't look like themselves. Doc even said that they just had no dominance in that game, and pretty much they looked like they fell asleep for most of the game. So besides that, the Sixers have looked very good. And even before when Embiid came back, they went 9-3 without him. The team did their job, and they kept the top spot in the Eastern Conference for a while now. So especially with Embiid back, and he's playing back at his MVP level. We saw the other night with a 35-point performance. I mean, when the Sixers have Embiid healthy and everyone's healthy around them, I mean, they're the best team in the Eastern Conference, even with the big three over in Brooklyn. Like Ben Simmons said earlier, there's one ball to pass around there, and you need to play defense, and those are two things that Brooklyn Nets don't do very well. So I think tonight will show, even without KD and even without James Harden too, I think Sixers are going to come away with a victory tonight and keep that top spot.
So you think having Embiid back takes them over the top against Brooklyn? You think they're a better team than Brooklyn?
Yeah, 100% does, just because of the defensive rating the Sixers have this season. I mean, all season they've been top three in the defensive power rankings. I mean, and the Nets are the bottom. I think they're the bottom three in the league in defensive ratings. So I mean, if you look at that, I mean, you have to play defensive in playoffs to win games, and the Sixers have done that all season long. And we have Matisse Thybulle, who's going to be a first-team defensive player, hopefully, and you got Ben Simmons, who's also Defensive Player of the Year right now. So when you have two of those players, and you also add Embiid, who's also a very good dominant force down in the paint there. So when you have those three on your team playing defense all together at one time, I mean, it's got to put up a lot of disruptive steals, blocks, and leads the Sixers shutting down the other opponent a lot.
Yeah, obviously, I think it's fair to say that the Sixers are the best defensive team in the league at this point, especially under the leadership of Doc Rivers. Having Embiid back obviously just takes them a step further. 36 points in 26 minutes is pretty remarkable against the Mavs the other night. And we can't underestimate the role of the bench in this little run that they have here, 7-3 in their last 10 games. The bench, 41.6 points per game in their last 10 games. Fifth in the NBA, I've checked. What do you make of the bench's role in this run they've gone on?
Yeah, the bench has been really impressive in this run they've gone on, and we've, as Sixers fans, we've seen throughout most of the season, the bench their play has been very up and down. I know multiple times we talked about how great they've been, how stellar they've been off the bench, and then there's also been times that the bench has been reasons the Sixers have lost games this season. So I feel like it's been a roller coaster of emotions with the Sixers bench this season, but like you said, this past stretch of games, they've been playing great. I mean, Shake Milton, Furkan Korkmaz, and Matisse Thybulle coming off the bench, those three have produced a great spark off the bench as well as defensively, as well as offensively with Furkan's threes. And this is without George Hill coming back yet. So I think once you add George Hill into the mix, and he should be back in the next coming weeks before the playoffs, once you add him back in the mix, the Sixers bench is going to be very dominant. And it's going to be better than the Brooklyn Nets when they face them in the playoffs this year.
Yeah, and I'm glad you did bring up Furkan, because Furkan is actually playing really well. Back-to-back 20-point games against the Thunder and the Mavs. Do you see Furkan establishing a solid role in the playoff rotation with if he keeps up this performance, of course?
I mean, he's got to. I mean, his shooting's unbelievable right now, especially off the bench. You need that three-point shooting. I mean, Seth Curry, I mean, he's been up and down the season too with his three-point shooting. And when he's down, it seems Furkan's coming off the bench and pretty much adding that spark that the Sixers need in that starting rotation. So Furkan's definitely going to have a spot in the playoffs if he keeps shooting the ball like this, but we've also seen times where Furkan can go cold and he can go 0 for 6, 0 for 7 from 3 in a game. And when that happens is he doesn't offer a lot on the court because he is a liability on the defensive end. So when he's not knocking down those threes, it is kind of hard to give him minutes. So as long as he's shooting the ball well, I do see he's going to have a good role in the playoffs here.
Yeah, and as we said, the Sixers do have a relatively rough stretch of games coming up. The Nets tonight. Well, tonight is Wednesday, by the way. We're filming. The Clippers, the Warriors, the Suns, and the Bucks. Some playoff teams in there. How do you think the team is going to fare against all these teams? A lot of Western Conference.
Yeah, these are pretty much all playoff teams, and I'm kind of glad the Sixers are having this schedule come up to them before the end of the season because it's going to straighten them out before the playoffs. You don't want to be playing a bunch of relaxed games before the playoffs. You want to be playing the top opponents because that's who you're going to be playing in the playoffs. So I think it's going to sharpen the Sixers up. Obviously, if they don't play up the standards, it's going to show what they need to work on before the playoffs. So I think that's also a good thing. But the also good thing is they're at home for most of these games, and we've seen how good and dominant the Sixers are at home. So that's definitely going to be a positive for them. And they're definitely going to come out of this stretch here with a winning record. But we'll see, because the Bucks twice, that's going to be a very hard game. You know, playing Giannis twice is never easy. And then even the Clippers, I mean, they've been hot lately with Kawhi and PG lighting it up. So it's going to be very good games for the Sixers and a lot of challenges coming up. Yeah,
and Embiid obviously is going to have a huge role in determining how they fare. Do you think that the Embiid hype that we saw earlier in the season before he got hurt, do you think that hype is still real? Is the MVP possibility still a thing, or was that lost with the injury?
It's got to be real. I mean, if you look at this guy play, it's just unreal the dominance he has in games. I mean, we haven't seen a player dominate like this in a while in the paint. I mean, just the way they foul him, he gets to the free throw line, and he's a 90% free throw shooter. So there's no way in stopping this guy. I mean, he's doing step back mid-rangers as a 7'2" big man. I mean, we haven't seen any of that type of play in a while. I mean, he's a mix between Dirk Nowitzki and Shaquille O'Neal, and we've never seen a player like that. So to say the MVP race is over that's completely wrong. There's a lot of basketball to be played left. I know he's missed 18 games this season, and Nikola Jokic is putting up great numbers right now, and he's missed 0 games overall this season. So that has a big play to effect in it. But you also have to look. Embiid is a big reason why the Sixers are the number 1 seed in the conference right now. So you have to put in all those factors into effect. So, and when the Sixers don't have Embiid, you see how the team plays. So Embiid is definitely the MVP of the league this year for me. And
not the only award the Sixers are talking about, too. Ben Simmons, obviously, the other day, talking about the possibility of winning Defensive Player of the Year. In fact, he emphatically said that he should win Defensive Player of the Year, especially in comparison to Rudy Gobert, who a lot of people think will win it. Do you think Ben Simmons deserves the Defensive Player of the Year award?
He 100% does, because he guards 1 through 5. And Rudy Gobert, not knocking him at all, he's a great defensive player, but Ben Simmons, like he said, he put up 42 points on him, and he's technically not an offensive player. So if you're going to call him Rookie of the Year, not Rookie of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, you have to look at a lot of aspects of it, because when you have a guy like Ben Simmons, you can guard a point guard like Russell Westbrook, but then can also guard a big like, I don't know, even Joel Embiid, he could guard him. Like, that's the type of presence Ben Simmons has on the court. And even the amount of steals and blocks and just the energy he brings and the loose ball hustle that he brings, I mean, it's just great. So I definitely think Ben Simmons deserves Defensive Player of the Year, but it's definitely going to be a close race with Gobert, because Gobert is always in the top ranks for that award anyways.
Yeah, and I want to just feed off of that just before we wrap up Sixers talk here. I think it's fair to say Brooklyn is the biggest threat to the Sixers in the East, correct? Or do you disagree?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yes. Well, if worst comes to worst and they face Brooklyn in the playoffs, which I think they could, who do you see Simmons matching up against primarily? Harden or Durant, or who do you see Simmons on?
I could probably see Kevin Durant, just because the length Kevin Durant has. The Sixers don't really have anybody that matches up to the length that is Kevin Durant. Not many NBA players can match up to Kevin Durant's length. But Ben Simmons is definitely up there. He's a 6'10" point guard. He's got the wingspan. Like I said earlier, he can guard 1 through 5. And Kevin Durant, he's a 1 through 5 player. He can play any of the positions on the court. So definitely see Ben Simmons on him. And probably Danny Green on James Harden. That's probably what I see. But yeah, that's going to be an interesting matchup, seeing Simmons on Durant.
Yeah, and it is disappointing that Brooklyn will be without their 2 best players tonight. But, that's just the way that the regular season is in the NBA. And with that, we will move into Phillies talk here. 6-5 Phillies are. I think we started off with really high expectations, sweeping the Braves, and then obviously yesterday back-to-back losses in New York against the Mets. I'll bring in Shane. What do we make of these this 11-game start for the Phillies? Are you happy with the outcome, or are you neutral, or are you disappointed? Shane.
I'm neutral with the outcome. I mean, they had a good homestand. They swept the Braves and then took 2 out of 3 from the Mets, so they won their first 2 series of the season. And then they go into Atlanta, they lose the first 2 games, and then lose back-to-back games last night against the New York Mets. But the thing is, they have to be better on the road, and that's what their issue was last year and in 2019. They were really good at home for both years, and then on the road is where they had their problems. And so far, that's happening again to them, and that's something they're going to need to clean up.
So your expectations haven't really changed with these games, in other words?
Not really, no.
Okay, well, I'll ask you, Caleb, what do you make of the Phillies start to the season?
Yeah, I think as all Phillies fans were, we kind of jumped the gun a little bit, and the first series and sweep the Braves. I mean, we all know the Braves are probably the best team in the NL East this year, so obviously we're going to be all hyped up about that. But Phillies fans, we also have to look at it. The only teams we played this season are the Mets and the Braves, and if you look at it, those are 2 top 5 ranked teams coming into this season. So to look at the Phillies' record right now at 6-5, I mean, I'm pretty happy as a Phillies fan. I mean, you got to expect to lose some of those games. I mean, the Mets and the Braves, they are 2 of the top teams in the whole MLB. I mean, they got all-star players on both sides of the pitching, they're hitting. So I'm pretty happy with how the Phillies, I mean, obviously there's some areas where they need to improve on, like Aaron Nola, he needs to step his game up. And even the bullpen last night, Hector Neris giving up 2 earned runs in that last inning. I mean, that type of stuff can't happen, but it's a long season. I mean, I'm pretty happy with how the Phillies have started out so far.
Completely agree, but there is some, as you said, some improvements that the team probably needs to make, and one of those, I think, is center field. Shane, I want to ask you, Roman Quinn. Actually, we just got word right before taping of the show that Adam Hazley was recalled for personal reasons. I don't really know the full details, but they actually called up Mickey Moniak to take his place on the team. Is it Mickey Moniak time in Philadelphia, Shane?
Right now, I'm not sure because, I mean, he was up last year. He didn't really get off to a hot start last year when they called him up. He's had some issues batting-wise. They probably should have called up Odubel Herrera. I mean, he's probably your best option right now. He's your best hitter down there right now. And the thing with Roman Quinn and Adam Hazley, I mean, they're not playing. Their defense is horrible right now, both of them in center field. I mean, Adam Hazley missed a pop-up last night that he probably should have caught, which caused a couple runs to score. And also with the way Roman Quinn, the way he's batting, when he got caught stealing third yesterday, he got out because he thought the ball went into left field. And he got up and he was about to run, and then he got called out. So, I mean, there's definitely issues right now with them too.
Yeah, Roman Quinn is obviously one of the major problems on this team. Only 1 hit in all of his plate appearances so far. Pretty bad. But let's talk about some other areas. The return on investment for some of the players, I think, have been pretty good. Varies in outcome. JT obviously is living up to his contract. I think he's having not only a great batting average, 324, but he's also defensively, I don't know if you can quantify that. I don't know if that's an easy thing to quantify, how valuable his defense is, but the way he calls games, the plays he makes, and even blocking pass balls, JT, obviously, great strength for the team. Didi, I want to ask you guys about Didi Gregorios. Are you happy with what you're seeing from Didi so far this season?
Obviously, his average is a little lower, but he's also came up with some big-time hits. I mean, I remember a few games back against the Braves, he hit a 3-run home run, and I think against the first series against the Braves, actually in opening day series, he actually had another home run. So he's come up with timely hits, it seems like, especially I think another time when the bases were loaded, he got a base hit too. So it seems like he's coming up with timely hits. I'd like to see more consistent average from him, getting a little more contact, getting a little more base hits when people aren't on base and you don't have to come up big. So just a little of that, but I'm pretty happy with how Didi's doing so far.
One more thing I want to ask you, Shane, is about Aaron Nola. I'm going to read the stat lines for his first 3 starts. 6 2/3 innings pitched in the first game, 6 hits, 2 earned runs. I think the win really helped him out in that game. 4 innings pitched in the second game, 6 hits and 1 earned run. And then yesterday, 5 innings pitched, 7 hits and 3 earned runs. Pretty bad performance yesterday, I would say. Are you concerned at all about the Phillies' ace? Is he an ace to you?
I am concerned a little bit because we've seen this last year. He was very inconsistent last year, and he just doesn't seem to have his fastball right now. He can't throw it for strikes. I mean, he's throwing it out of the strike zone and everything. Right now, I don't think he's the ace, just the way he's pitching right now. Zach Wheeler, I think he's the ace of the staff right now. He's definitely pitching better than Nola has so far. And Nola just doesn't have his confidence right now.
Completely agree. I'm a big Wheeler guy, by the way. And with that, we will wrap up Phillies Talk. Any last things you guys want to add to Phillies Talk? Probably not. Flyers Talk's already up there, so we're going to move on to Flyers Talk. Shane, take it away. The Flyers are 19-17 and 6th place in the division. A big collapse for this team, I would say. Tell me what happened to this team. Back-to-back losses versus Buffalo and Washington, just abysmal. Take it away.
Yeah. Obviously they didn't meet the expectations everyone had for them coming into this season. I mean, their defense, their goaltending, and their special teams have been horrible this season. Last year they were very great on the penalty kill. I mean, they were aggressive. They went after the puck, and they took away passing lanes. And the goaltending isn't the same as it was last season either. Carter Hart and Brian Elliott are having horrible seasons. I still think they're second worst for save percentage in the league right now. And the way the defense is, I mean, when you lost Matt Niskanen before this season, Chuck Fletcher had to go out and get someone who could replace him. He went out and got Eric Gustafsson. That didn't work out too well. They just traded him a couple days ago at the trade deadline. And, I mean, they had a guy, Zdeno Chara. I mean, he's 44 years old, but he can still play defense. He's a big defenseman, and they kind of need that big defenseman there for them. I mean, they have Sam Moran right now, but, I mean, Zdeno Chara can still score goals. He can hit people. So that's what's wrong with the team right now.
And I'm just going off of the Carter Hart talk. Is there a goalie controversy? Is Carter Hart a failed experiment for the Flyers? Is he not going to ever live up to the player that we all kind of hoped he would be, a franchise goalie?
No, I still think he's going to be the franchise goalie. I mean, it's a shortened season. It's just a weird season right now. I mean, before this season, or actually in the playoffs last year, he got rid of his I forget what he had, but psychiatrist, yeah. And they kind of helped him with his goaltending, and they also got rid of his personal goaltending coach also. I feel like that probably kind of didn't help with the way he's playing, obviously, this year. But I still think he's the franchise goaltender. I mean, he's only 22 years old, and, I mean, we've seen what happens when young players get traded away with Sergei Bobrovsky. He went on to the Columbus Blue Jackets back in 2012. He went on to win 2 Vezina trophies as the best goaltender in the league for Columbus. Right now he's with the Florida Panthers, and they're in a playoff spot. But, like, look, with Carson Wentz, people are too early to give up on these young players, and so I'm not worried about Carter Hart.
It's the Philly media, is what you're saying. Some mental health speculation here on Sports Talk Philadelphia. I love that. Flyers, do they make the playoffs? Yes or no? I think obviously that's a no.
Yeah, no, they don't. I mean, the Rangers are a better team right now. They're 2 points ahead of the Flyers in 5th place and 4 points behind the Bruins. So, I mean, that's going to be a tough hill for them to climb.
Just if you were the GM, if you were Chuck Fletcher, what would you do to improve this team right now?
Right now, I'd get defensemen who can help. There's 2 defensemen after the season that are going to be free agents. Jamie Oleksiak, he is 6'7". He's a big, tall defenseman. He has 4 goals in the season, 5 assists, and 9 points. He's more of a stay-at-home defenseman, so he can help back there. He can take people out. And also Tyson Barrie, who is more of an offensive defenseman. He has 5 goals, 30 assists, and 35 points on the season. So those are 2 players that I would look out for after the season. Hopefully, maybe they can get one of them. Also, I mean, it's probably going to be pretty hard, but you're going to have to kind of break up the core group here. Probably get rid of Van Riemsdyk. I mean, we have Seattle coming into the league with the expansion draft, so maybe they'll probably give him to them, or maybe Voracek. I mean, he has a big contract, so that's going to be pretty hard to get rid of.
Yeah, it'll definitely a lot of work to be done on this team from a front office standpoint. And with that, we will wrap up. Kind of funny that we got a high number one Sixers team, and then we got a little neutral Phillies team, and then we got just an abysmal, terrible Flyers team. It's amazing the hierarchy.
Eagles right with the Flyers.
Oh yeah, well the Eagles,
yeah.
We don't even want to talk about them this week. A lot of stuff going wrong with the Eagles. But we will move into Fast Five, and I got some fire questions for you this week, and I'll go back to you, Shane. Give me your early MVP candidates in baseball, one in the National League and one in the American League.
So for the National League, it's Ronald Acuna Jr. I mean, to start the season, he didn't get off to a hot start, but after they played the Phillies and they went on to play the Nationals, that's when he started hitting the ball. Right now, he's batting .429. He has 4 home runs, 8 RBIs. His OBP is .490. He has an OPS of 1.371, and he's slugging .881 right now. He's fast. We seen him the other night beat out a ground ball to Didi, and the other night he had a ball into right field, and he made it into a triple, which probably should have only been a double or a single. But he's just a great player all around. And for the American League, I have to go with a pitcher from the Los Angeles Angels, Shohei Ohtani. He's batting .364, 4 home runs, 12 RBIs. He has an OBP of .391, OPS of 1.187, and he's slugging. I actually can't.
A big number.
Right. Yeah, it's a big number.
Big number for Shohei. We're big Shohei guys over here. Also big Acuna guys. Also a little fun fact. I don't know if it's true. Somebody should fact check me. Last time a team won back-to-back MVPs on the same team, different players, the Phillies, I think. I don't know for sure. Jimmy Rollins, Ryan Howard. Somebody fact check me on that. I'll go to you for this one, Caleb. Reaction to your reaction to Gonzaga not completing the perfect season and losing in the national championship.
Personally, I did not think they were going to win the national championship. I mean, it's very hard to go a perfect season. I mean, we saw Kentucky, they tried to do it a few years ago, and they lost in the Final Four, I believe. So it's very hard to do that. I mean, no matter how talented you are, it's hard to go perfect the whole season. But Baylor, just the way they played that game was unreal. I mean, just the intensity they had on defense, I mean, and the physicality they had. It seemed like Gonzaga never played a team that was that physical before on the boards. I mean, the amount of offensive rebounds Baylor got that game was unbelievable, and the way their guards were shooting and attacking and just playing defense. I mean, shutting down Gonzaga's shooters, because that's the biggest strength of Gonzaga is their shooters. I mean, they shut them all down. So just a dominant game by Baylor. I mean, I was expecting it coming, but I don't think a lot of people were.
I asked Aiden last week, how did your bracket go?
Not very good. No. I had Iowa going to the finals, and they lost in the second game, and I think one of my Final Four teams lost in the first round. So not too good this year. Just like every other year, it's pretty bad. Very sorry to hear that.
I'll come back to you. Give me your NBA Finals premature matchup. What do you see?
I got to go with I'm going to go with the Sixers and the Lakers. I mean, when the Lakers are fully healthy, I mean, they're just a dominant team. I mean, especially adding Andre Drummond. I mean, you've seen how impactful he's been on that team, especially LeBron and AD haven't been there in a few weeks now, and the team is still winning. So that's the thing. And they just added a lot of pieces that they didn't have from last year, like Montrezl Harrell, Dennis Schroeder, Andre Drummond, a lot of key pieces that are really make this team better. They made them younger, and they're winning games without LeBron and AD. I mean, those are 2 top 5 players in the NBA. So I think they're definitely going to be back in the Western Conference. I mean, and obviously the Sixers, they've been the most dominant team in the Eastern Conference so far this year. I mean, I think Embiid's going to take it to another level in the playoffs, even further than what he's doing right now, and he's going to take the Sixers to the finals with the Lakers.
Rematch of 2001. I like it. I didn't even know that Andre Drummond was on the Lakers, so that's pretty interesting. I'll come back to you one more time. Sam Darnold was traded to the Carolina Panthers from the New York Jets. Give me your reaction to the trade, and do you think it helps them a lot?
Yeah, we saw the Panthers were in the QB market for a while now. They wanted to move on from Teddy Bridgewater. That experiment didn't work out to what they wanted to, but we saw they were interested in Deshaun Watson a lot. They were looking heavily in a lot of rookie QBs, but I think this is a great trade for the Panthers getting Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold was a former number 3 overall pick to the Jets. He's 23 years old still, very young. He's shown a lot of potential when he's played on the field. And I mean, the Panthers also have Robbie Anderson, who Darnold played with on the Jets, and they had a lot of deep ball connections. So you're bringing that chemistry back to Carolina. I think there's going to be big things for Sam Darnold this year. I mean, he just needed to change of scenery. We all know how abysmal the Jets have been these past few years, especially with their coaching, their management leaders. They've done an awful job the past few years. So I think Sam Darnold's a key acquisition. I mean, what they got him for, too, is cheap. I mean, former number 3 pick for a second-round pick, I mean, that's a steal. So
yeah, I think getting shipped out of New York is a win for any player. And I'll go to both of you. We got a little bit of time. I just thought of this question. Best location to sit in a ballpark now that fans are welcome back into MLB games. A lot of people would say, I want to sit Diamond Club. I want to sit right behind home plate. But some people might not feel that way, like moi. So where's your preferred seat? Citizens Bank Park, where are you sitting?
I mean, I'm never going to deny a Diamond Club ticket. I mean, those are the best. But personally, if I'm buying my own ticket and going to a game, I'm always going to get right field behind Bryce Harper. I mean, those are the best seats of the game. Get a few rows behind him, maybe get a toss-up ball, get the little hair flip.
Yeah,
I mean,
you get the whole
whole package in one game. So, I mean, and they're cheaper tickets. So especially you got to get Dollar Dog Night, too. That's key, too.
Love it. Shane, what about you? Where are you sitting?
I'm actually going to be sitting up high right behind home plate because you can see the whole field, you can see the whole ballpark, and you got a good view of the city. It's just a beautiful view up there. Sat up there plenty of times. I used to like sitting behind right field, but yeah, being right behind home plate up high.
Good stuff, good stuff. And with that, we will wrap up this week on Sports Talk Philadelphia. Big episode this week. I really enjoyed it. I hope you guys will join us next week. Check out our Twitter at Sports Talk LTV. We got a new man behind the scenes over there, posting some fun content for you. And once again, I'm John Kuhlmeier. Thank you for watching.
Audio